presenting the most formidable Native American tribes ever known. While many tribes commanded respect in their own ways, three stand out for their extraordinary ferocity. These groups weren't just strong, they were utterly intimidating, crushing any resistance with a savagery that could chill anyone to the bone. In this video, we'll spotlight three of the most lethal Native American tribes you may not have heard about. Before we plunge into this gripping tale, remember to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories. Merely uttering the name of this tribe was enough to strike terror even among other native peoples. Dubbed the Masters of the Plains, their name is derived from a Ute term, Comanche, which translates to those who are always ready for battle, or simply, enemy. The Comanches originated from the Shoshone, who resided in the western territories of the United States, an area known as the Great Basin. Studies in anthropology highlight clear parallels between these two groups, such as their languages and ways of life. Their dialect is part of the Uto-Aztecan linguistic family, which spans numerous indigenous tongues throughout the western U.S. When Europeans, especially the Spanish, brought horses to North America in the 1500s, these animals gradually made their way into the hands of native groups. The Comanches traded with nearby tribes like the Pueblo, who had Spanish connections, or other plains tribes already in possession of horses. Through these exchanges, the Comanches obtained horses, often trading buffalo skins, captives, or other valuables. Once they acquired horses, they swiftly became master riders, pushing their boundaries far beyond their Shoshone origins. The grassy plains of eastern Colorado and western Kansas, teeming with buffalo, drew the Comanches in. They became exceptional horsemen, using their mounts for hunting, commerce, and combat. Horses were not just a means of travel, but also a mark of prestige and influence in Comanche culture. Their riding abilities were second to none. From a young age, Comanche children learned to ride, and both men and women developed impressive equestrian skills. The Comanches were especially skilled at capturing and taming wild horses. Upon spotting a wild horse, they would lasso its neck, choke it until it lost consciousness, then revive it by gently blowing into its nostrils. They would then groom the horse, trim the wild hair around its eyes, and fit it with a headstall for control. The untamed horse would be paired with a gentle mare, encouraging it to bond and grow accustomed to humans. After several days, the horse would be set free, but would remain near the mare. When it was time to ride, the handler would guide the horse into deep water or a sandy creek, which helped to calm the animal and provided a soft landing if it tried to throw its rider. William Blakemore, an Englishman who spent 8 years with the tribe, remarked, "On foot, they are sluggish and awkward, but on horseback, they are graceful. They are the most skilled and daring riders anywhere." On the battlefield, the Comanches were truly fearsome. They would thunder down upon their foes with ear-splitting war cries, hiding their bodies behind their horses except for one foot, and firing bullets or arrows with astonishing precision over and under their horses' necks. Each warrior had a favored battle horse used only in combat, and even Comanche women were bold riders, lassoing antelope and hunting buffalo. The Comanches rapidly gained power, earning a reputation for their relentless and savage tactics. They were intensely driven and exceedingly brutal toward their adversaries. After Spain took control of Louisiana from France, Spanish troops noted that the Comanches were unmatched as horsemen and utterly fearless in warfare. The Comanches were not quick to make peace. They were audacious and persistent, killing numerous European settlers and making it nearly impossible for the French, Spanish, and Americans to seize their lands. Their ferocity was so great that they single-handedly blocked Spanish expansion for almost half a century. General James Wilkinson of the United States described the Comanches as the most daunting native force on the continent. Initially branded as horse thieves, the Comanches earned a terrifying reputation through their merciless raids, so fierce that northern Spanish and Mexican settlers coined the term Comanche Moon to describe them. During these savage nighttime assaults, hundreds of mounted Comanches would storm Mexican villages, slaughtering men, abducting women, and stealing horses. When settlers from Europe ventured into their territory, the Comanches would strike, take their horses, and later trade them to the Spanish-Mexican Empire or Americans. Although their numbers were relatively small, about 40,000 people, each Comanche typically owned 2 or 3 horses. In their society, young warriors had to prove themselves by raiding often, demonstrating their prowess in killing and stealing. This was the only path to earning honor, wealth, and respect within their families and clans. Comanche women earned a notorious reputation for their ruthless and inventive torture of captives. Falling into the hands of Comanche women often meant enduring suffering so severe that prisoners would beg for death. Historical accounts, including those by S.C. Gwynn in Empire of the Summer Moon, emphasize that no other tribe in the region's history, whether Spanish, French, Mexican, Texan, or American, wreaked as much devastation and terror as the Comanches. Gwynn's descriptions highlight the extreme brutality of Comanche assaults on settlers, where acts of torture, murder, and sexual violence were common. The violence of Comanche raids followed a grim and deliberate logic. Adult men were killed, captives subjected to torture, women suffered sexual violence, and infants were often murdered. T.R. Fehrenbach, in his work on Comanche history, recounts the infamous 1836 attack on Fort Parker, where warriors used deception to lure Benjamin Parker out before surrounding and killing him. The Comanches stormed the fort, killing and mutilating the men, and subjected the women to horrific abuse. Survivors like Matilda Lockhart and Rachel Plummer described sustained torture and mutilation at the hands of Comanche women. Lockhart, for example, was returned after years in captivity with her nose burned off and her feet mutilated to prevent escape. Comanche women played a central role in the torture of captives, often surpassing the men in cruelty. They inflicted prolonged suffering, such as roasting captives alive, scalping and castrating them while conscious, or burying victims up to their chins, removing their eyelids, and leaving them to die, exposed to the sun. Other recorded methods included staking prisoners over red ant beds after genital mutilation, sewing lips shut, and binding captives in rawhide that would shrink in the sun, slowly suffocating them. Pregnant women were not spared. Some were gang-raped, beaten, or even killed, along with their unborn children. The suffering did not end with physical torture. Captives were often forced to march long distances, endure beatings, and survive on minimal food, leading to miscarriages and death from exhaustion sick. Some children and young women were adopted into the tribe, but many faced relentless abuse and violence. The Comanches' use of terror was calculated, serving to instill fear and assert dominance over both settlers and rival tribes. Turning to the Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee, or Six Nations, this alliance of tribes, including the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, was another formidable force in North America. The Mohawk, located to the east, leveraged their strategic position in dealings with Europeans, while the other nations contributed their own strengths to the Confederacy. The Iroquois were not originally known by that name. It was given to them by their Algonquin adversaries and means rattlesnake, a nod to their reputation for stealth and deadly efficiency in warfare. The Iroquois were relentless in expanding their territory, often launching raids that devastated neighboring tribes like the Huron, Erie, and Susquehannock. From youth, Iroquois boys underwent rigorous military training, mastering weapons and tactics, and participating in raids that shaped them into fierce warriors. Military achievement brought respect and the possibility of becoming a war chief. One particularly harrowing aspect of Iroquois warfare was their treatment of prisoners. Captives were often forced to run the gauntlet, a brutal ritual in which they ran between two lines of warriors wielding thorny sticks and branches, suffering severe beatings. This practice highlighted the intensity of intertribal conflict and the strict martial culture of Iroquois society. The Beaver Wars of the 17th century exemplified their military might, as the Iroquois waged campaigns to expand their territory, including the conquest of the Susquehannocks in present-day Pennsylvania. Moreover, the Iroquois dealt a significant blow to the Huron people around the Great Lakes, further solidifying their dominance in the area. By the early 18th century, at the height of their influence, the Iroquois controlled expansive lands stretching from the western frontiers to northern Michigan and down south to the hills of Tennessee. What truly distinguished the Iroquois Confederacy was their remarkable capacity to keep the various nations within their alliance united. This solidarity was especially clear during the French and Indian War, when all Iroquois nations sided with the British. As the biblical proverb states, "If one prevails against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken." Indeed, unity forged an indomitable nation. The Apache belonged to the southern branch of the Athabascan linguistic family. This group's languages are spoken across a vast region, including Alaska, Western Canada, and the American Southwest. Various Apache bands inhabited territories stretching from the Arkansas River down to northern Mexico and from central Texas across to central Arizona. The Apache not only endured but flourished, surrounded by powerful empires and skillfully navigating the challenges posed by the Spanish, Comanche, Ute, and American forces. Residing in harsh, rugged landscapes, the Apache became experts in mobile guerrilla warfare, wielding traditional bows alongside more modern rifles introduced by Europeans. It is said that Apache warriors could shoot multiple arrows in a single volley while expertly riding horseback. Their survival depended heavily on exceptional stealth and the element of surprise, which formed the core of their military tactics. Simply put, they were masters of concealment and ambush. This skill enabled them to launch sudden, unexpected attacks that caught enemies off guard and shattered their morale. Apache fighters, adept at surprise assaults, would swiftly emerge from hiding, strike with precision, and vanish back into the terrain they knew intimately. One notable feature of Apache warfare was their extraordinary raiding ability. They could cover vast distances quickly, whether on foot or horseback. This speed, combined with tactical expertise, allowed them to strike accurately and retreat before foes could regroup. The Apache skillfully incorporated Spanish horses and steel weapons into their combat methods, demonstrating great adaptability. They rapidly mastered the use of lances and knives, enhancing their battlefield effectiveness. General Crook famously described the Apaches as the tigers of the human race, capturing their fierce nature. Their toughness and physical endurance were so great that they could outrun cavalry on foot, showcasing exceptional agility and stamina. In combat, Apache archers displayed incredible skill, reportedly firing 7 arrows into the air before the first one landed, highlighting their rapid and accurate shooting. When it came to torturing captives, the Apache showed no mercy. Enemies were skinned alive and burned, and the children of their foes suffered brutal deaths, often having their heads smashed against walls. They even honored those who devised new methods of torture, valuing cruelty as a mark of distinction. In conclusion, these 3 tribes remain legendary for the fear they inspired in all who faced them. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Thank you.